We believe that at this stage that Angie is missing because of third-party intervention. And so I've declared it a serious investigation, and as a result, we're investigating it and treating it as a homicide.
Young mum Angie Fuller vanished without a trace in the Central Australian desert outside of Alice Springs in the early hours of January 10 last year. But a new clue might be crucial evidence in her unsolved murder investigation. Here to tell us more is investigative reporter Kristen Shorten. Kristen, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, before we get to this new clue, can you give us a recap of Angie's disappearance and what has happened since then?
Absolutely. This is one of the most bizarre and frustrating cases I've ever heard about. So, young mum Angie Fuller recently relocated to Alice Springs from Darwin and had just arrived back in town in January of 2023. So, at the beginning of last year, after spending Christmas up in Darwin with her family. After she's arrived back in town, she hadn't even been to her apartment and unpacked her car when a few hours later, she disappeared without a trace. So Northern Territory Police say that the last independent or confirmed sight of Angie was at 6:40 p.m. on the evening of January 9, 2023. And that is when the 30-year-old was captured on CCTV footage at a truck stop. It's like a service station north of Alice with her then boyfriend, Jake Jefferson Peters. Now, the mum of two has not been seen since. Well, there's been no confirmed sightings of her since, and she hasn't made any contact with her family, access to bank accounts, or logged into any of her social media since that night. Her boyfriend, Jake Peters, reported her missing to police about 2 days later after telling one of his relatives in Alice Springs the story, who ordered Peters to go to the police station and report it. Now, following her disappearance, Jake Peters recorded and shared on social media some bizarre videos outlining his version of events, in which he claimed that the couple had been run off the road by 3 carloads of armed gangsters before a tree, getting bogged and fleeing barefoot into the desert while the gangsters were shooting at them.
Here we go, there. Like a belt and sneak past them and then stop it and looking and then keep going, and then out of nowhere, I heard a scream.
Now, this all apparently happened on the Tenamai Road, about 15 kilometres west of the Stewart Highway intersection outside of Alice Springs. Police have previously told us at the Nightly that they do believe Ms. Fuller was driving her red Toyota Corolla with Peters in the passenger seat when it came into contact with another vehicle on the Tenamai Road in the early hours of January 10, 2023. It's believed that Ms. Fuller's car was bumped off the road and became bogged, and the pair did run away, but they won't comment on the rest of Peter's version of events regarding the carloads of armed gangsters. They do, however, suspect that Ms. Fuller was murdered sometime between this incident on Tenamai Road with the unrelated vehicle and Peters reporting her missing to police late on the night of January 11, so 2 days later.
And so I mentioned that there was a new clue that could be vital in cracking this case. What is it?
That's right, Ben. Now, this is new information to the public. I've interviewed a man who has spoken to homicide detectives, and he has shared with me that he actually called Angie Fuller on the night that she disappeared. He made a video call to her phone via the social media application Snapchat. He said it was a video call late on the evening of January 9, 2023, so a few hours after Angie was last sighted at that truck stop outside of Alice Springs. And when he called her phone, someone else answered. That person was her boyfriend, Peters. During this brief conversation that this friend had with Peters, he said he did not hear or see Angie at all. And he's never heard from the missing mum again.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting piece of evidence. So what is likely to happen now?
Northern Territory Police have said they won't stop until Angie is located and an arrest is made. So the Major Crime Squad is continuing to investigate her murder. It's an active homicide investigation at the moment. Detectives are desperate to find the young mum's body and bring closure to her family, including her 2 small children. So I mentioned that Peters had answered his mobile phone on that night that she disappeared. That phone still has not been found. Her car keys remain missing, as do other personal belongings. Meanwhile, Ms. Fuller's boyfriend, Jake, the last person to see her alive, is now in a Queensland prison. He'd fled to Queensland soon after his girlfriend's disappearance and has since been jailed over a knife attack during a couple of botched carjackings west of Brisbane. Police remain interested in the movements of two vehicles that he had access to during that 48-hour period between the incident on the Tenamai and her being reported missing to police. So one of those vehicles is his silver Nissan Pulsar sedan, and another is a camouflaged Daihatsu Rocky with the rear canopy removed and no rego plates. Police have also offered a $250,000 reward for information leading to the location of Angie's body and a conviction for anyone responsible for her death. And in addition to that $250,000 reward, indemnity from prosecution may be recommended for any accomplice not being the person who actually committed the crime, who first gives them that information. So police are still urging anyone with information, no matter how small, to contact investigators or Crime Stoppers in the Northern Territory.
Yeah, and that number is 1800 333 000 for Crime Stoppers, and for police 131 444. As you say, Kristen, this is a truly bizarre story. The disappearance of Angie Fuller seems like it had a tragic end, and like the police, I know the public in Australia are desperate to get some sort of resolution. Investigative reporter Kristen Shorten, we really appreciate you sharing this new evidence on the Nightly Five today.
Thanks for having me.